Is that right?
That was a
Is it
total
close?
that was a total butcher job.
I know. I knew it was gonna be. That's why I prefaced this whole thing. Can you enlighten the crowd here of what's the correct version of this?
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Deal Landman Show. This probably is not going to come out until the beginning of 2026, but this is our final recording of the year 2025. And of course, to make it momentous, we had to all get together in person except me.
Except Jerris.
Yeah, which, I mean, by this point, I think people know that Drew gets together with people and goes to their office or brings people to his and then forgets to invite me. And so I'm left on the outside all by myself.
I don't like that you're changing it. That's changing a narrative right at the end of the year. We're supposed to be really nice to each other. But yes, like I always like the time where we're able to have people in. You've been in multiple times in 2025. I think we did 3 or 4 different shows here in Oklahoma City.
At least.
Maybe.
Yeah.
At least. And then we were together on a lot of these. It's so nice that I don't want to say that I make the effort to make this into a big production thing, and you never invite us to Colorado Springs. Even whenever we have a guest here, maybe from Colorado, that's only 40 minutes away from you.
I know that's one of those things that would have been really helpful to know yesterday.
That kind of goes into the planning of these episodes, doesn't it?
One of our poor guests traveled all the way to Oklahoma City just to be there with Drew, whereas our satellite location was 20 miles from his house.
These are the run. That's right. Yeah, our next one.
In your defense, we didn't ask. We just assumed Dakota had to come here.
That's right. No, we had a lot of fun in 2025. Do you know off the top of your head how many shows that we did in this last year?
Approximately 25.
Approximately 25. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And I think the really cool thing about that is that 5 of those were quote unquote live events.
Yeah.
Where organizations invited us to come and participate as part of their conference or to do an education session. 1, we're flattered to have been invited and have such large audiences in front of us. 2, we're also flattered that people thought that they could actually get education from these sessions and actually count credits for it. But yeah, exactly. That was totally unexpected. And a lot of work goes into those, but that was also super fun and shameless plug. We would love to do more of those in the coming year.
We definitely would. No, that was one of my highlights for sure. Loved going to Boston with you and being able to go. I mean, what was the other one? The in Oklahoma City, a huge audience of the royalty owners. Was that
the NARO one? Yep,
that was massive.
I think we had 250 people in that room.
That was pretty. That was
no
pretty
pressure.
Cool. Yeah, no pressure at all. Kicking off the conference, but to the very the educational side, to the interview side, starting this thing off and doing it kind of as a recap of every show that we had. We would do 15 to 20 minutes of a rundown of every bit of the Landman on Paramount Plus show. I think that was fun, but I'm so glad. I mean, tell me if you are or you aren't, but I was so glad that we kind of morphed this into more of a finding out the backstories, finding out very interesting people in the land space and beyond. We've heard I've gone back, I've rewatched a lot of the old episodes of people that we've met kind of along the way. And it really has been, it's awesome to hear the different stories of how people have advanced in their careers and what the land space has really brought and afforded different people. It's absolutely fascinating career path.
Yeah. And one of my favorite stories that we heard this year, and it was off camera, it came after the fact, but one of our guests who messaged us and said that a mineral owner that he had been dealing with acted like he wanted his autograph and wanted a picture because he was famous because he'd been in our podcast. It's the fact that somebody who isn't necessarily connected to our landman community also knew about it and was listening. And we talk a lot about networking and relationships and things like that on this show. And it just gets proven time and time again. The opportunities that have been created for people who have come on the show and have seen like tangible results with job opportunities or work opportunities or making connections. And it's just been fantastic. I mean, we both like helping people, and this has allowed us to do that in a really fun way.
It's a good platform for sure. I mean, Jerris, I know between you and I know you would probably consider me like your best friend. I mean, I'm kind of feel the same. I mean, maybe not as much, but you're talking about networking, and we're talking about like on LinkedIn, like between you and I looked the other day, and you and I have over 1,200 and like, I think it was 1,270 connections in common. So those are all the different people that we know in like the first connections. The man seated to my left here, Mr. Alex Wolfe, and I have 1,000 and something connections. And he's like the second in line of, he and I share the same number of connections in the industry, which I think is worth noting on this show. So I think that's a decent and very odd introduction to our guest today. And that is Alex Wolfe and Dakota Lewis. We are so happy to have you guys here. Dakota joins us from Colorado.
Castle Rock, Colorado.
Castle Rock, Colorado. And you are located here in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, City, Oklahoma.
But why do we know so many people? Like, first off, well, what is the common thread here? Is it the Chesapeake connection?
I think it's the Chesapeake connection.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely it.
It's definitely got to be. And you worked at Chesapeake what years?
2011 to 2020.
Okay. How, when you were just coming up in the industry, and Dakota, we'll get to you in a second, but when you were starting out, what'd you go to school for and where?
I went to the University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And I went for energy management. So basically decided I wanted to stick around Oklahoma, and the best way to do that was working in oil and gas. So
anybody in your family working in oil and gas?
My granddad had his own oil and gas company, and then my brother works in like refineries, stuff like that.
Okay. So you kind of grew up around it.
Yeah. My mom still has mineral interests. You just, when you grow up in Tulsa or anywhere in Oklahoma, you grow up knowing about oil and gas or knowing people that are in it. So I also quickly found out that all of my friends were going into oil and gas. So that didn't hurt. And I can't do math. So engineering was not a path for me. So landman seemed to be the best.
You're in good company.
Yeah.
Yes. That's too funny. So you decided kind of early on and like never wavered, never like just energy management was really kind of the way that you wanted to go, or?
Yeah. Once I decided to declare a major, was the way I decided to move forward. So no wavering. Was obviously really fortunate to get a job right out of school.
Yeah. And that was straight into Chesapeake?
Yeah. I went straight to Chesapeake upon graduating and stuck around there for 9 years.
What was because that was in the absolute heyday. So you were going up against a lot of other people that were going for the same job.
Yeah.
What was kind of the experience of just that whole, because it was a whirlwind of trying to get on there. What was kind of the opening of meeting everybody, going in for the interviews and everything like that? Was it as you expected coming straight out of college?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. So how I got a foot in the door is I was actually working for a broker out of Blanchard called Land Services, and was working, basically they taught me how to run title. And so I was actually working on Chesapeake projects, and I think a position came open at Chesapeake and my boss recommended me. So I got basically a call, and then I applied online, and I drove up to Oklahoma City and I interviewed with Lester Zitkus in his office one-on-one. Scared to death. She scared me to death. I was like 23. Lester's a super nice guy, but big dude, deep voice. And I was just like, oh God. But it went really well. And then was fortunate enough to get that first job. And they were like, well, so you're going to work West Virginia. And I was like, I don't know anything about West Virginia, but I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. That sounds great. So I was Googling like Marcellus Shale and trying to figure out what's going on.
Funny. And back and forth to West Virginia a lot?
Yeah. So back in those times, like Aubrey really wanted you out in the field. So probably every 4 to 5 weeks I was traveling out there. It was really eye-opening for me. I hadn't really ever been to that part of the country. A lot of great stories. I always say, I think it set my career up nicely, because if you can work West Virginia, you can work about anywhere. So it was a lot of fun experiences. It was a great team. There were just great people at Chesapeake at that point. So high expectations though. I always tell people there's nothing like getting a report back that has Aubrey's handwriting on it that you wrote that is critiquing you. Nothing gets your adrenaline going quite like that.
That is absolutely the truth. So now I want to get Dakota. So you grew up Sulphur, Oklahoma. Very similar kind of, probably seen a lot of oil and gas growing up, right?
Yep.
And then where did you go to school?
University of Kansas.
University of Kansas, and studied what?
Psychology.
Psychology. So what made the switch in your mind to go from psychology to somewhat into the energy field?
Honestly, luck. I had a job I was going to take in Breckenridge, Colorado. And a couple days before I was going to take off, Ella McDonald called me and said, "You want to do some land work?" And I said, "I don't know what that is." Went in and interviewed with her in Washington, Oklahoma, and she shipped me up to Pittsburgh.
And you said right after you graduated, you got in the car and drove up to Pennsylvania and kind of the Ohio area too and everything. And so what was that like? Just being able to, I mean, that's going in just head first.
Not knowing anything. I was like, I don't know if I'm drilling wells. I don't know what. She told me to take a notepad, and I took a notepad. And yeah, I mean, started working Greene County and Westmoreland County in Southwest PA. And then when the Utica kind of took off, we moved into like that, I don't know, the upper portion of West Virginia. It's old Daldridge, and then Guernsey, Belmont, and Harrison, Row area, and Eastern Ohio.
And your main focus was like title, like curative, right?
Curative, title, leasing, surface, anything we can kind of get our hands on. Just
any of that connect over with that psychology background?
Talking to landowners, but I mean, growing up in the South in a small farm,
you're already kind of second nature.
Sit at the bar with many people at a young age, and I feel like you can talk with anybody.
I think that's a stinking good thing to have, Jerris. You think psychology degree would be pretty good for going up in West Virginia and Ohio and everything?
I was thinking about Dakota, like trying to figure out what land work was. And I'm imagining, I mean, I'm sure this happens now. Obviously, we're not in the same kind of land grab boom that we were before, but I'm sure there are still people who are exploring the option or opportunity to become a landman, and their research for it is to watch the Landman TV show.
Yep.
And like, that's what they're expecting. Like, oh man, my first day on the job, a well's going to explode. I'm going to lose my pinky finger.
Yeah. That's what I was telling somebody the other day. I was like, as a layman, I have never ran with a wrench and shut off a valve and then had to cut my own finger off. So if that's what people are expecting, they're going to be pretty sorely disappointed.
I feel like I earned some street credit in my neighborhood in Castle Rock, Colorado. Everyone's like, "Wow, I did not know that's what you did." It's like, I do.
It's a big thing. I mean, we've talked about it on numerous shows in the past of just because it is one of those things that like gets the landman name out there and it gives more exposure to it. Like I know I probably said it before, and we can edit this whole thing out of going and seeing like my in-laws up in the Northwest, Washington State. My father-in-law absolutely loves to introduce me to people of, "This is my son-in-law. He's landman, like the show, just like the show." And like that happened not a week and a half ago. Of they're all asking questions just because that's their frame of reference, and it's just, I don't know. It's funny. I will say he cut his pinky off in season 1. In season 2, I don't know if you've noticed it, but that pinky's grown back, or they're just not CGIing the thing out as much as they need to. So just throwing that out. That's the tidbit of the show for the day.
I mean, that's the plus of drinking the radioactive water that exists in Midland, is that things will sometimes grow back.
That's right.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I'm like notorious for being able to drink tap water anywhere. Wherever we travel, I'm a savage. I drink right out of the hotel sink. I do not care. And before I went out to Midland, everybody was like, "Wait till you get to Midland." And I was like, I've never been to a place that I cared. Yeah. And I got to Midland, and I filled it up. And I think Dakota was like laughing, watching me. And I was like, "I don't care." And I drank it, and I looked down, I was like, "Nope, can't drink it. Never mind. This stuff is not good." I got defeated.
The legendary Doubletree.
Yeah, that's where, I was just like, I can't do it. Never mind. Everybody was right. I was wrong. I don't know what they do to it out there. Like, I've never tasted anything like that.
It's got a color too.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, which is one of the biggest things. If I'm like trying to explain it to people, and I'm like, it does have an actual color and the Midland flavor to it. So
whatever the Midland flavor is, yeah.
Growing up in Sulphur, Oklahoma, sulfur water.
I mean,
got a nice punch.
You would have, I think you would be like a professional water taster, like Sulphur, Oklahoma, Ponca City kind of too. We've got the refinery there, and we've got a lot of springs, and like there's a lot of something going on with it. But like you've got a refined palate. You can tell us about these different waters here.
Yeah, he can call it, or at least that one.
I cut you off, Jerris. I'm sorry. Go ahead if you had something.
No, it's going to be lame now. Just move on.
I lost track. We're talking about pinkies getting cut off.
Well, so we've established like where you guys came from and where was the connection that pulled you guys together? Where did you guys first meet?
So a couple of Dakota's childhood friends that he grew up with were in the same fraternity as me at OU.
Okay.
And actually one of them also went in the industry. So we had known about each other for a long time and had kind of met off and on for a while. And then I actually needed some help on a project in an area that he was in and worked and had experience. And so I reached out to him and we worked on that project together and then just continued to working on projects. And that relationship developed and we realized, with our different backgrounds, he's kind of my yin, my yang. And yeah, it's gone from there.
That's perfect. And so you guys established your company, 3 Point Land Services, right?
Yeah.
And that was in
2023.
2023.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about what 3 Point does.
So we're what we'd say a full service brokerage, leasing, title, curative. What I always tell clients is we do everything you don't want to do. And we're happy to do it. But we're across the energy sector. So we do, obviously, oil and gas is where we both started. So we still love doing that work, but we've also branched out. We do a lot of work for renewable clients.
Nice.
So that would be directly for the developers. And also we work for the underwriters that provide them title insurance. So like Stewart Title, First American, they have to go do like 100-year patent present surface searches for these projects, and they don't have the resources to do that. So they use brokers.
Interesting.
So, it's been a crazy ride. Honestly, we were looking at it the other day. I think there's only 4 states that we have not worked at this point. Yeah. Hawaii, Alaska, and maybe like Vermont or something. Yeah.
New Hampshire. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's just because of the renewable industry. We've been forced to basically go everywhere.
What has been the biggest challenge with the renewables? With the landman kind of background that you've got, what's different, or what's been something that you guys have had to kind of learn on the fly?
What do you think?
I mean, just changing, like, again, whenever you start out running title in Pennsylvania or West Virginia, you can run title anywhere.
Okay.
But then you go to a podunk town in a state that, I mean, you call the recorder and say, hey, I'm here to run some title. And are you grantor grantee? Are you section transfer and track books? And they can't even tell you.
No kidding.
Like we always joke, like we call the recorder twice usually. Like I'll write my notes down and he'll call and we have the exact opposite notes. And it's like, did you talk to the recorder? It's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
It's just no clue. That's interesting.
And also a lot of these counties, for your oil and gas counties, like the recorder's been around, they know what's going on.
Right.
So when you call them, they can tell you exactly. You'll call some of these counties and it almost is like no one's ever called them before. Just because there's never been a real reason to go out there and run title.
And now that renewables are coming in, like it's a completely...
Yeah, they get annoyed. They get annoyed when you're like, hey, I'm out here to run title on like 300 tracks and I'm going to be here for like 6 months. They're like, what? And we're like, yeah. So it's kind of, that's a big challenge, I would say.
The renewables portion is making up a pretty strong part of you guys' business now.
Yeah, it's been great for the last couple of years. And honestly, there's been a lot of overlap in regards to the renewable companies are having to start to deal with minerals a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So to explain that, essentially like for a solar project, when they're putting 3,000 acres of solar panels out there, they're covering a lot of ground. And so if there is determined to be like a severed mineral interest owner underneath that, typically the title companies are making the renewable company go out and find out who are the mineral owners and then go get what they call an accommodation or a service waiver from them, saying, hey, we're going to be covering the surface with solar panels, which may, I guess, prohibit or come in conflict with you being able to develop your mineral rights. So we want to come to an agreement to make sure that there's no litigation down the line. Well, part of that is if there's an oil and gas lease on the property, they have to go find the operator and come to an agreement with them. And we've now started to come to a point where a lot of our oil and gas clients are the operator and we're doing this work for the renewable company. So it's actually kind of nice because we're like, well, yeah, we know them. And we
got a good relationship.
Yeah, why don't we help you guys talk and figure this out? So we've already started to see a lot of overlap with that. For example, Diversified, just because their asset base is so like large and covers so much ground. We've probably gone to them like 10 times for different clients just trying to get a waiver. So yeah, that's been really interesting to watch that happen.
The people that you guys pick up to do these jobs, are they interchangeable between oil and gas and renewables? Or do you try to find people who know renewables better or oil and gas better and keep them in those segments?
I would say for the most part, we've taken people from oil and gas and brought them over. Just essentially so much of the work is the same. So in regards to like the acquisition side of things, if you can lease for oil and gas, you can lease renewables. It's very easy to make that shift. spend a couple days learning the lease. And the leases are honestly set up pretty similar to oil and gas leases. So we've seen a lot of success with that. And then in regards to like the mineral searches, they're the exact same deliverable as no oil and gas. Those people can do the same thing. I would say the only difference is we have some folks that don't have mineral title experience. They've really only run surface for a long time. And we pretty much keep them in the surface realm. We don't try to bring them over and have them run minerals.
Okay.
But for the most part, yeah, they're interchangeable. So tons of folks that Dakota has worked with throughout the years in the field, that's who we utilize now for some of these like pretty far out renewable projects because they're more open to traveling. And we go to some pretty wild places. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
So another question, and if we need to take this out or if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But like in terms of day rates, do renewable companies pay higher rates than oil and gas companies, or are they more or less equal?
They're pretty in line.
Are they really?
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, no, pretty much the same. I would say the only difference between the two is that typically renewable companies, when they give you a project, they ask you to bid it up front, which is a huge portion of Dakota and I's job. Is we just get these emails from clients that are like, hey, we have a new solar project in Weld County, Colorado. Can you quote running full mineral title on 20 parcels? And we quote it, and we have to stick to that bid because their budgets are so much tighter. Or I don't want to say tighter, but they have to stick to them a lot more than oil and gas companies typically do. So we have to live or die by that bid, which is something that's been interesting for us. We've gotten very good at figuring out what we think things are going to cost. Unfortunately, we have not gotten bit too much. We've only had a couple projects where things spiraled a little further than we thought. But yeah, that's the big difference is they like the bids up front where, for oil and gas, they just say, hey, here's 20 sections, go run title and bill us.
How do you take into account, I mean, if you can take a peek at some index books, I can imagine that you can more or less estimate or extrapolate this. It'll take us approximately this time based on this number of instruments. But how do you account for things that are unexpected or out of your control? Like, pandemic or super busy courthouse, and you show up and they're limiting, only one person in the vault at a time. And so whereas you thought you were going to get through 50 instruments that day, now you're only getting through 10, and it's going to happen that way for the foreseeable future. Like, how do you plan or account for stuff like that?
That's a great question. Yeah. I'm going to let Dakota answer that.
Yeah. I mean, we run into it a lot depending on where in the country. If it's in the South, I mean, you go back to running title back to patent, courthouse was burned down 3 different times. So they don't have index books. You go to some in California and they do. You sign up for a 2-hour time slot and you're about 2 weeks out, and they're not going to let you sign up that much. They have no online records, but that's what kind of goes into when we call these recorders and ask right off the bat. Client sends us a bid. We look at it, call the recorder, kind of gather our information on our time frame and our cost, and we live or die by that bid.
Yeah. So, I mean, the amount of recorders that we've talked to has been shocking, but we have had a couple of times, and it's also worked out in our advantage before where we've called a recorder and they've said, no, we have nothing online, and prep to spend a lot of time in the field, and we'll get out there and everything's online. And we just talked to the wrong person who didn't know. So we've gotten all these people rolling to go live out in this county for 6 months. And we get out there and they're like, oh no, you can do this all from home. We're like, what?
Thanks for that.
So yeah, it's a never ending challenge with that, but we've gotten a lot better at being able to how we ask our questions of these recorders. In the beginning, we were just like, are you online?
Yeah.
And now we're more targeted of, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to run title back to 1920. I'm trying to chain it back to 1920. How much of that would I be able to do from home? And how much of that would I have to be in your records room? So just getting a little more targeted and like being a little more specific usually helps eliminate any miscommunication.
That makes sense. And that kind of rolls into one of the things I wanted to ask of whenever you're going out there, you're seeing some places that have been fully digitalized. One of the things on you guys' website, it says you're redefining how you're doing, how land services are handled. And what are some of the frustrations that you saw whenever you were running this early in your career that you want to eliminate with 3 points?
I mean, we're both a big believer of just work ethic. I mean, I feel like coming from college football to then going to the field, it was almost like you only want me to go to the courthouse it opens at 8 a.m. and it closes at 4, and like, that's all you want me to do? And I would get there at 7 and the janitor would let me in, and I would leave whenever they closed, kick me out pretty much. But you wouldn't see, and I mean, it's still to current day. You go into some recorder's office and people show up at noon, 1, they're there for an hour and then they leave. And it's like, I don't see them for another 3 days. And it's like, well, you can only do this. This courthouse is only boots on the ground, the title. Like, you can't do anything online. So what are you doing? So yeah, it's people's, I mean, they definitely don't put the time in. And I feel like whenever we are on these budgeted projects, like, we know, like, if I assign you one parcel project in Georgia on a Monday, it's like, come Wednesday, I should have something.
Yeah.
And I think it holds people accountable to, hey, here's what we have to do. And yeah, I expect about a 3-day turnaround. Whereas,
sure.
like, I don't think people are really held accountable.
Do you see anything with what you guys are doing and courthouse work? The thing that Jerris and I always talk about whenever we're talking to different people is how AI is kind of infiltrating every portion. Are you guys seeing things in the courthouses that is starting to implement?
I wouldn't say in the
Or lead the way?
courthouses, like in the courthouses, but we are starting to see like programs that we're looking into as well. I can't say never, but I feel like it's going to be a while before any title company or anybody would fully trust AI to run title. I think they're always going to want, or for at least the foreseeable future, they're going to want that human oversight at the end. But we are starting to see programs that can really speed up the process. So there's some programs out there, going back to like, a lot of our folks are in the field, like, that aren't working from home. They're out in the courthouse. They're trying to get as much done as possible in the courthouse because they don't want to be out there. So they're just grabbing all of their documents all day long. Well, then they got to go home that night and they have to sit there and actually type out their run sheet. And that takes a lot more time. So there's these programs that are coming out that we're looking into as well, that you can just data dump all of the documents you grab that day. And then AI, even like the old cursive documents, they'll read it and then they'll basically type out your run sheet for you. And then you just go back through and actually review all the documents and make sure everything flows well, because that's the human interpretation of it. But it saves all that typing time. So especially for the people in the field, if you're at home sitting in your living room, you can probably move pretty quick. But if you're out in the field in the courthouse, like, that's a huge time helper.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah. So we're starting to see that. We really like it. But I do think it's going to be a while before AI fully replaces us. At least I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, like, AI is a journey in terms of having a human in the loop and what we're trying to accomplish with it. And I think Alex just gave one of the best explanations that I've heard in terms of having realistic, reasonable expectations on what it's going to do for you. Not having the expectation that it's going to automate and handle everything for you on your behalf, but as long as you're willing to use it as a tool working alongside you, you're going to see incremental savings that stack up.
Yeah.
Another way of looking at it is saving keystrokes. And keystrokes take time. Not a lot of time, but every keystroke takes a moment of time. And if you can utilize AI to be able to minimize the number of keystrokes, you can start to realize some pretty significant savings and gain some pretty significant efficiencies.
Agree completely. And, the other thing is we have some examiners who work for us that are a little older. They're not as quick in like Excel and some of those programs as some of the younger people coming out of college, but they can run title. Like, they have years of experience. So these programs are game changers for them, because the biggest thing that holds them back is they just aren't really great at navigating like Excel or run some of these computer programs, but this eliminates it for them. They can do their thing, which is essentially hit the courthouse and grab as many documents as they can. And then these programs are going to take care of all the typing, the keystrokes, and then they just need to use that skill set that they have to review the actual documents.
Perfect.
So I think it's going to be a game changer for them. And we're probably going to try to really push that on some of those folks.
That's fantastic. No, it really is exciting to see all the different programs that have come out just in the past like 3 years. Yeah. It's been an absolute boom, and it's been really fun for us to be able to review a lot of those and see what kind of is making it in the next few years. So,
do you guys have a favorite that you've seen so far?
And I mean, I do. It'd probably take it offline here unless we get some real sponsorship. I love that there's such innovation in every one of these different industries, and especially like this. I remember the first programs that we used, like at Chesapeake. I remember how just absolutely like Microsoft DOS almost, like black screens with like the green numbers and everything. Not even mouse driven, keystroke driven was what like I started with. And to think that that was even something that like we were dealing with, like that was just the standard, and to see how far it's come, it's just like such a cool journey. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah,
for sure.
I want to go back to Dakota's work ethic for a second. There are stereotypes that people talk about on landmen in terms of their hours that they keep or the days that they work, et cetera. And obviously,
Friday.
yeah, exactly. But so, the schedule that you talked about and your work ethic that you discussed, we hope it's not too rare, but that's not the stereotype that gets thrown out there. And so how difficult is it for you to find people that match that same work ethic? And do you have a way of testing them beforehand, of knowing that they are going to have that work ethic? Or how have you been able to build a team that meets your high level of expectations?
Yeah. I mean, I think from my experience of just moving to Pittsburgh and working Marcellus and Utica, I mean, for a good 10 years, and then moving to the Front Range and doing the same thing, working, DJ, your powder, you meet a lot of people over there. I mean, let's call it 15 years. You meet a lot of people run title courthouses. You start seeing the same group of people around. So you know the people out there, they're good. And then honestly, Alex and I, we fall back on just word of mouth, like recommendations. Like, yeah, we post on LinkedIn looking for folks, and we have found some folks, but it's a 5% rate of return. You hire 50 people on LinkedIn, and I mean, do you have one? Do you have two? Like, what's your rate of return? Like someone that's actually really stands out that like, wow. Because I mean, all the good folks, they might have jobs, and you keep good folks. So there's that. But we love reaching out with our network and just asking, hey, does anyone know good folks? I mean, good experienced folks that know what we're looking for, and we've had great success. And I mean, once you have your crew and your group, you can grow slowly. I mean, people will work, they want work. They hate the thought of like not having work. So it's like, hey, here's what we need to accomplish, and I can either give it to you or I might need to hire someone else. Or no, I'll take it. I can handle this. So definitely, we've had really good luck with just reaching out within our group of contractors and asking, hey, we need some work in Louisiana. Does anyone have any folks? And we might get 10 resumes that come in, and we'll give them a shot. And if it works out, great. If not, we part ways and just kind of nip it in the butt early. Cause we've had a lot of, things that didn't work out, but very quickly, because we give you a parcel on Monday, piece of land, and come Wednesday, Thursday, it's like, I should have it. And right away, whenever you start getting some excuses like, oh yeah, I'll give it to you. It's coming. And it's like, well, can you send me whatever you have right now? And it's like, just
nothing there. No,
we have little things too. So going back to what Dakota was saying, we have had really good success with just reaching out to our network. We've had a lot of success with our folks that we'll pay them a referral fee. So essentially, if you refer somebody and they work out for 2 months, we'll pay you a little bonus on that. So that motivates them, because they're not wanting to recommend somebody that they don't truly think is going to work out, because then they don't get that bonus. So that's been really helpful. In regards to like, once we bring them on, Dakota and I have little things that just over time you start to notice. So for me, if I email somebody and like over 24 hours goes by, I mean, like I get it during the day, people are in the courthouse. So like, that's good, like head down. But if it's a full day and you don't respond to me, immediately alarm bells are going off. I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, you have a cell phone, your email is probably on your cell phone. If you're not responding, that's probably not a great sign. So little things like that have helped us out a lot. Now, obviously, every once in a while, we still have somebody that comes on board that probably lasts a little bit longer than they should. But for the most part, we've been able to keep the circle pretty tight. And like Dakota said, also, we try not to grow too fast. We're not trying to like bring on 20 people at once or anything like that. We bring on as we need to.
Doing it really tactfully.
Yeah.
So that's good.
As I say, we don't hire the pizza guy. Yeah. I mean, that's a stereotype, obviously, that came out like the Barnett when they were just hiring everybody. And we don't do that.
That's good. I've seen, and I know you guys have too, there's been a lot of shakeup with a lot of energy companies, of whether we're talking AI boom, whether we're talking companies right sizing. There's a lot of people that have seemingly come on the market each quarter in the last couple of years. And like, whenever I first started seeing that, I was really hesitant to even wanting to talk about it, because I'm just like, oh man, you hate to see people losing jobs. Like, you absolutely hate that. But like the positive side of it, and the spin that like myself and like a lot of others looked at, like, we're in the consulting world, and there were so many, it was like this flood of people that had great backgrounds, that had worked in, they had worked title, they had worked, like, we looked at like data analyst, people that were so rich on being able to understand different softwares, different programs, being able to how to, communicate like all the different phases of the lease, like every little bit of it. And there were these people that were like, I want to be able to showcase my skills. And so I really feel like over the past year and a half, where we've seen the market adjusting and we've seen so many people like maybe displaced in the energy market, there is a ripe selection of people that are looking for excellent jobs like this that have great backgrounds. And it's really just about finding them within your network. But
timing.
Timing.
And
That's
timing.
exactly
Timing
right.
always helps out.
It makes me very, number one, thankful for the oil and gas community, because people are very quick to recommend those that, they know are, of a good cut. But it showcases so many people that are just absolute experts in their field, and it helps take companies like ours, like you guys's, and just raises it to a higher level whenever you can get people like that in.
Agreed completely. It's been nice. And also the good thing that I've noticed is people aren't getting out of the industry because they're finding those new opportunities, which is great.
Yeah,
because
that really is.
You think every time there's downturn, like, okay, well, these people aren't coming back. But honestly, most of the people I've seen, especially in the last couple of years, they've been able to find a job pretty quickly. And honestly, that's also been nice for renewables, because with the boom of renewables, one of our best clients is EDF, which is the director of land there is Brian Lohoff, who was my boss at Chesapeake and worked with Jerris as well. And he's been trying to hire guys from the oil and gas industry nonstop. He's got a couple of them over there. But so the renewable industry has been able to pick up some of the slack when oil and gas let people go. They were able to hire because those skills really do translate. So that's been nice.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
For the short term and the long term, to stay on some of the same topic, for the short term and the long term, do you see the number of job opportunities going up or going down?
For the short term?
Both.
For me, I think I see it going up for both short term and long term, just because right now I think everything to do with energy is a huge need. We need more energy. Where that comes from, it doesn't really matter. I mean, so Dakota has guys that he worked with in oil and gas. They're now in geothermal. We're doing hydrogen. So, I mean, as far as like oil and gas specifically, I can't say is that, but as far as like a need for landmen in general across the energy industry, I think it just continues to go up because we need more energy and there's more sources that are becoming available, and those land skills to get to any of those sources typically involves land work. So there's going to be an opportunity for landmen to find work.
Agreed.
That's an interesting perspective. I mean, and I feel like you guys have a great pulse and touch point on trends and what's happening in multiple sectors of the energy industry, but also across the country. So another question, you guys each have your various backgrounds and your perspectives. What do you think someone should pursue, an in-house job or a field job?
Such a good question.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
You need the field work.
I just think if you can get that unicorn that's had both, it's so great. Like, cause I just think that someone who's only worked in-house does not understand, they can get frustrated. Like, why is the title not done? Well, they have no idea what's going on in that courthouse. As you brought up earlier, there's so many X factors that can delay things. And if you haven't been there, you just don't know. And on the other side of things, when you're only been in the field the entire time, anybody in-house knows that, things can change on a dime. Like it's not the landman's call. Like you could be working on a well for a year and then all of a sudden it's pulled from the schedule.
Yeah.
Well, the guy in the field is like, what do you mean this is canceled? Like I've been working on this for a year and they have like no idea what's going on internally. So we'll have projects where Dakota and I are talking. He's like, what do you think happened? I'm like, I think a reservoir engineer got a hold of this and I think they changed their mind and this thing got pulled. This is what happened, because I've seen it happen 100 times. So I think anybody who can get both is really in a good position. So I don't think one's better than the other, but if you can get both, they tie in well.
I do agree with that. But I have had some young, fresh out of college landmen that'll sign some title and a week later ask where it's at. And it's going to be about 6 months before you see that. So they've just never been in an abstract office or a title plant or grantor granteed in a subdivision. And you have 30,000 documents later for a section.
See, I always used to love those programs. Like Chesapeake did a little bit. I know Newfield did, but I loved when the companies hired someone to come in-house, but they made them spend like their first year working with their brokers and like actually made them work in the field and then brought them back in. Like I always thought that was a really cool experience. I had a friend that got to do that for Newfield when he graduated, but I think it just gives you great perspective. You need to be able to do what you're asking others to do so that you understand like what the expectation should be. And that also you're in a better position at that point to be like, hey, I should have this title by now. I know I should have this title by now because I know how long it would take me to run it. Right. So it shouldn't take you any longer. So I think that's really valuable.
Jerris, I was gonna try to steal, and I do it so poorly, and you've done it so well over our last episodes of your question that you always kind of end these with of if someone is starting out in the energy field or going into land, what would you tell them? Like they need to, and I mean, correct me where I'm wrong. They need to keep doing blank, and they need to stop doing blank. Is that right?
That was a total butcher job.
I know. I knew it was gonna be. That's why I prefaced this whole thing. Can you enlighten the crowd here of what's the correct version of this?
Yeah. So young or new people to the industry don't do enough.
There it is.
Fill in the blank.
I'll go for it.
It's a hard one right off the bat.
Yeah.
I have an answer if you want me to go.
Yeah,
I would just say aren't open to new opportunities. If I were going to talk to someone coming into the industry, I would say no job is beneath you. Say yes to everything you can and get as much experience as you can early while you don't have, other life obligations. So we have some younger guys that work for us that are awesome, but they have nothing other than, their parents, I guess. But I mean, they can do. We have one guy like a couple weeks ago, I called him and was like, I need you on a plane tonight, but we can pay you like a pretty high day rate. And he's like, I'm packing my bag. And he went to a state he's never been to. And he got great experience on that. And I was sitting there, I was like, man, that's pretty sweet that he can just like, I'll feed my cat, pack my bag and be at the airport. It's like, man, that's awesome. So what I would say is while you're younger and you don't have other obligations like kids or things like that, just say yes to everything you can to get that experience while you're younger, because it'll serve you so well when you're older and you're a little less, versatile.
I do agree with that.
What's the taking it away again from Jerris after he corrects me on this one? What's the best advice you ever got from a mentor from the industry?
I mean, you never know everything. I mean, every county, every state, things change, statute change. I learned that quick in Ohio with all the dormant mineral acts. They've changed 5, 6, 7 times. And it's like, it all depends on the E&P company's attorney. What are they going to go with? The 89 DMA, the 2006. I mean, it's pick it and stick with it and then take your leases. But I mean, my mentor, whenever I was in Ohio, she's been in the land industry forever. And it was just like, you never know everything. I mean, I learned something, and I truly do every day, because we work so many counties and so many states, which I love, that just because you get a little bit something different. It's not the Permian, it's not the DJ, it's not the Powder, the Marcellus, Utica. You're calling Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Vermont. You call these states, and it's just running title in a new county and how they do things and how they draft documents and stuff, which is great.
It is. I would agree with that. My best advice I think I got was basically, I think it was put to me, don't burn bridges because this industry is really small. But I would say develop as many relationships as you can, because you don't know when those are going to come back to really help you out. I would say, especially from going from the in-house side to the service side, I have people I worked with like 10 years ago that will randomly reach out to me and say, hey, I knew you were doing this now. I have a project, and would you be willing to help out? And it's someone I definitely didn't expect to hear from. And it happens all the time. And it's just because like 10 years ago, I developed a relationship with them. Clearly I made a good impression, and that'll come back to help me later on. I also, you go to NAPE and you pretty quickly figure out, you're like, man, I really do run into the same people over and over and over and over again. So I better really get along with all of them.
That's exactly right. With 3 Point Services, where does the next kind of iteration go? Like, do you guys continue to work with the renewables and continue to kind of expand your scope there? Is there another area that you guys are looking to get into, or what's kind of the foreseeable future plan for you guys?
I mean, I would just say continue. I mean, energy in general. I don't think we're trying to grow any more in renewables wind, solar, as we are geothermal or hydrogen or, lithium.
You're seeing a lot of lithium stuff?
I mean, Arkansas,
Right.
Exxon and Chevron are duking it out down there. And then I think there's going to be more plays that are popping up. And that's heavy on the land work.
It seems like it. What's the one in Oklahoma City? Brent Wilson's group.
So that was Galvanic, and that got bought
by Chevron?
By Exxon.
By Exxon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Chevron bought another company, but that's all down. We have several projects on the renewable side that are down there in like Northeast Texas that are kind of on that. And we've had clients be like, yeah, we're just getting like hit up by Exxon and Chevron. They're just bidding each other up. We're like, wow, that's a good position to be in. Like, way to go. So we've seen that take off a lot. But yeah, to answer on Dakota is like, yeah, I don't think we have a preference.
Sure.
I mean, we like working with all of them. And land work is land work. It's obviously slightly different depending on what company you're working for, but I think we just want to continue to grow in energy. I think we'll also start to focus more on, so I read an article, I can't remember what newspaper it was, but essentially it's talking about how there's such a shortage of pipelines in the US and that there's going to be such a large capital investment in new lines in the next 10 years. And so I think obviously we already do some right of way and transportation work, but like I think we'll try to focus on that as well, just because I think that'll be a huge growth in the US. But yeah, no, I think pretty much we're on a good path. We're just going to keep moving forward with it.
It's really good.
AI and all.
AI and all. That's right. With the last thing, Dakota, I'd ask you is, will you be filing any sort of lawsuit against the Landman Show since they're using your likeness in season 1?
I kind of think I should.
I kind of think you should too.
I'm upset I didn't bring my Letterman jacket.
I mean, as everybody listening in knows, Ainsley's boyfriend, the star football player, was the star football player sitting on the other side of the table from you here, Dakota, and his name on the show was Dakota. So I mean, Jerris, I mean, it makes sense. Like they found him at some point and they stole the likeness. It's terrible. These things, I hate to see these happen.
I wish we could pull up a photo. The guy really does look like a younger version of Dakota. It really is funny.
Long hair, Letterman's jacket.
He did play quarterback. He played linebacker, but still,
yeah.
The similarity is
it's
there.
Close enough to where I think we can get a lawsuit here. Absolutely, it's close enough. Well, if people want to find you guys, if they want to reach out, what's the best way to get a hold of you all?
I would just go to our website.
Okay.
That has our contact info on there. Yeah, that would be the best way.
That's really good. Jerris, any last word of wisdom from you from Colorado Springs?
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us and sharing your perspectives. We're fortunate that we get to have a lot of people on the show of various backgrounds, and you guys bring some new ideas in terms of what's being seen across the country and what's being seen with the profession. It sounds like the profession is still optimistic for at least for the foreseeable future. The opportunities are there. It's a matter of finding them and then instilling the right work ethic to be able to hang on to those and to be able to go on to the next one. So appreciate you guys for coming on. It's been a great conversation.
So for Jerris Johnson, I'm Drew Hopkins, joined by Alex Wolfe, Dakota Lewis of 3 Point Land Services. Thank you for listening to the Real Deal Landman Show, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.